Hello everyone, CannonChat here, doing another CannonChat for the month of April, and I have noticed that the title of this one is going to be the 12th one, so I've actually been doing these CannonChats just to put my thoughts out there, or whatever gaming news for games that I'm interested in, or just general thoughts out there for a year now, and it's been really crazy to think about that a year ago was pretty much when everything shut down from the pandemic in 2020. So not necessarily a good memory to remember, but well, with that out of the way, I have World of Warplanes up. Once again, it's pretty much my go-to game to play in the background for these, because for many other games I get a bit too distracted by the gameplay to really keep my thoughts together. But also this time I have something that is a little bit more relevant for World of Warplanes, and that is that they have been doing updates for this game. I think I mentioned that before, but they've been adding these national legendary pilots, I guess, for lack of a better phrase. So each one has a unique, two unique skills. One is unique to any aircraft of that nation. So for the Millie Elliott pilot, I can use her air acrobat skill on any British plane there is in the game, but she has a special skill that can only be used on a specific plane in the game, which in this case is the Tornado. Increases hit points and damage inflicted by forward firing guns by 10%, only available for the Tornado aircraft, and the skill cannot be reset, which means that in order to use this pilot on not the Tornado, you have to essentially waste 2 skill points. So in that instance, I'm gaining 2% more maneuverability in turns and 10% accuracy against actively maneuvering targets, instead of just a 2% maneuverability boost from the base skill. So I'm getting effectively double the effect of the acrobatics expert skill, as well as having a little bit of better accuracy. So I decided to put her on my Javelin, and just for reference, this is the regular skill that you can put on. So I decided to put her on my Javelin because I wanted to make my Javelin as turny as possible. Because number one, because I think it would be funny, but also because just how good the Javelin felt for me when I decided to go full maneuverability on it, with a little bit in speed, of course, with the second engine slot. And so effectively what I decided to do was that I am sacrificing Engine Guru 2 in order to gain that extra maneuverability if this pilot had 15 skills. So if we go to my other pilot here, I have Marksman 1 and 2, and then these 2 skills. And then I was going to go for the 2 Engine Guru skills, I think. I'm pretty sure that's what I plan to do, and then do like fire resistance instead of, for the last skill point. Keep forgetting that the skill point is there. So I have a turn time of 13.1, and unfortunately I don't have Millie up to 6 skill points to get the extremely overpowered skill Aerodynamics Expert back. To gain back that maneuverability, I would probably be at like 12.9 if I had that, just for reference. So I'm going to go Marksman 1 and 2, Engine Guru 1, and then I'm actually going to go with Battle Tested, I think, afterward. And that kind of works well for me because Engine Guru 2 doesn't actually improve your engine performance as much as it sounds. Like, it increases your overall speed by 2%, but it also increases your maximum boost speed by 2% and your cruise speed by 2%. And once I get aerodynamics expert, really the primary thing that I would be getting is just 2% cruise speed, which I think is a good enough trade. So with that, I also specialized the F7U recently, and I still don't really like it. So let's see what I can start off here. Let's play the I-215, which is a plane that I want to get specialized for the long barrels. So on to some gaming news. For Path of Exile lately, Path of Exile has done some very, for the top players, like, kind of debatable stuff for balancing. They pretty much nerfed every single meta skill, and then they reworked some things to be not nearly as good as they used to be for certain niche things. They completely gutted my Hollow Palm Berserker skill setup that I was planning to do on Standard eventually, and they made self-cursing temp chains with Headhunter completely useless now. So, in summary, what they did was that they made the harvest mechanic not really worth interacting with by nerfing it incredibly heavily, and then they nerfed all of the meta stuff and reworked some different things that I don't recall people ever wanting to be reworked and making them worse anyway, as far as I can tell. They did add some new skill gems that are relating to reserving life and everything. I pretty much covered that in my 2 extremely long videos discussing those. So overall, in summary, Path of Exile has been one of those games that I really, that I pretty much always played the League start on. And this has been pretty much one of those leagues since probably the 3.0 update or so, where I have genuinely thought about completely skipping a league altogether, let alone doing League Start. Now, I decided to at least try out one of the new skills, and it is fairly interesting. I will give it that. But I don't know if it's really interesting enough for me to really invest on it. The 2 skills, or the skill plus the path of building that I've done, I found that it was really hard to make a build with this specific skill that I was working with. Because there isn't really a lot of physical damage over time multiplier on the tree that isn't bleeding related. So that has been making it kind of difficult. And I haven't actually played this aircraft specifically in quite a while, so this is going to be a little bit of a learning process. So yeah, having spent so much time in Path of Exile and then having a league that I was just so uninterested in was kind of disappointing. Oh, come on. How did you not get that? this is exactly why I want specialization with this thing. It feels like the guns, they can be decently accurate, but when you want them to be accurate, they're just not. So yeah, we'll see on that. I'm only on Act 3, which, I mean, I wasn't really being super efficient on my leveling. Worse than usual, I would say. Yeah, I think they might have made the ground attackers attack aircraft a little bit more often than... Yeah, all we need to do is get this ground attacker. Or just take out one more ground target, that works too. And then we have the most important site on the map. Okay. So that has been fairly interesting to experience that. So besides that, there has been actually quite a bit of gaming updates for games that I've been playing of late. So Genshin Impact, I still play. And this is probably going to be an issue right here. Really don't like needing to use a boost cooler, but it helps when you need it. Yeah, look at that dispersion. That's pretty ugly. There we go. So Genshin Impact is having their 1.5 update, which brings quite a few different things to basically to fill in the hype that they have been desperately needing for a decent amount of time now. So they've been adding like a whole new kind of personal town type thing that you can dabble with, as well as some new bosses, possibly a new area. I'm not entirely sure how much different area they're gonna add. Haven't seen that specialized F94D. That's pretty interesting. So yeah, overall, that was pretty exciting, but honestly the biggest update for games that I play was for the Arknight's Tower Defense game. For mobile devices, or if you decide to use an app to play it on the PC. And, well, for the English or global server... Oh, come on. Get this guy. Yeah, close range of these guns just don't really want to work. There we go. And with the global server, they're adding in the next limited operator, which is a big part of the story. Well, actually, both of the next operators are big onto the story. So, on top of that, there we go. On top of that, the Chinese server, which is where, well, basically they're like 6 to 8 months ahead of the global server. They're having they're having the 2-year anniversary of Arknight's China server, and they're adding in a long-awaited operator that was removed from like the beta test, and that character is pretty much one of the biggest influences in the story, or at least the later parts of the story anyway. So it was really, really nice to see that. Come on. No. Yeah, if I was in I-211, they're a lot better. They have a lot better guns at this range. Come on, come on. What is this? What is this? There we go, finally. And there we go, a decent result on that one. But yeah, like I was saying, the 2-year anniversary revealed a lot of stuff that I can be hyped for until I forget about it by the time it comes around on the global server. So yeah, that has been pretty exciting. As for World of Warplanes, though, they are planning on adding even more of those special pilots for various different nations. They had one for Japan already, and one other nation. Russia. They had a Russian one that was basically very similar to the one for the British aircraft. And the only special pilots they had previously were female pilots that were pretty much designated for one class of aircraft as a whole, but they didn't have any skills that was designed for one specific aircraft only. So, for an example, the American one added double damage for rockets and bombs if you were coming in at a steep dive angle, which was very influential for one of the multi-role lines for the US. The Russian one was for the IL-40P, basically, or any ground attackers in general for Russia, and then the other one was kind of for heavy fighters for Germany. So those were the 3 main ones previously, and now they're just adding more, except with this different dynamic, and I kind of like it because it brings special perks, but at the same time, because you're wasting those 2 points if you want to put it on something other than the aircraft in question, it kind of balances them, sorta. But if you do put them on their specific aircraft, they're just flat out better. Pretty much. The Japanese one, if you put the Japanese pilot on the A6M50, you could get the speed and turning characteristics to like such a ludicrous amount for that aircraft. I think I saw someone get their turning time for that aircraft down to like 6 seconds. So that's definitely something. And then the universal skill for the Japanese pilot was like 10% extra burst length on the guns, and then 10% extra damage. So that could have been good for the J7 W3, but I decided to not bother with it because, as far as I know, you get absolutely no benefit from the perk as well for the specific aircraft, and it also replaces a perk, which is the maneuverability one. So I would have been trading that slightly bit extra damage for extra maneuverability, which is fine, but the J7W3, like, one of the reasons why it's good is because it has that extra maneuverability on top of multi-role, so it can dogfight with altitude fighters effectively. And I'm actually going to go after this XF90, I think. See if I can get him off of our bombers, and it seems like he is going after me, actually. Hello there. This is a game with all bots, I think, so... There we go. Yeah, I might need to destroy something because our heavy fighter's pretty low. So yeah, that has been just a lot of news for games that I play that I have been pretty hyped for hearing about. I think the Arknights one is definitely what I have been anticipating the most, but obviously since it's like 6 to 8 months away, it's not like it's coming soon or anything. But there's still stuff on the global server that is definitely something to look forward to in a few days, so that's pretty exciting. Using the MiG-15 BIS against ground attackers is pretty irritating. There we go. Because this thing really does not like fighting stuff with a lot of HP, because that 37mm gun just does a lot of damage, but it overheats so quickly that you don't get consistent damage. It's just burst damage, and so specializing will help a little bit with that because of the bolt carriers. But it's still really frustrating. Let's get our altitude back. It's really nice not needing boost on the speed build in order to climb at a decent rate. Okay, so there's a bunch of multi-rolls over here. I should be able to take them out if I get over here fast enough. Let's go after the Seahawk here. They're probably going to take this zone before I am able to get one of these guys. Oh, I guess not. Very good. And I can still outturn a Seahawk, I think, so... So yeah, that has definitely been pretty nice. I guess another side thing to add is that for Minecraft, apparently they are going to be splitting up the Caves and Cliffs update to 2 different patches, which is completely fine. It's not like I'm actively playing Minecraft right now, but to get the full Caves and Cliffs update, that is going to be at the end of this year, and to be completely honest, especially at the rate at which I'm doing stuff, I'm probably not going to be playing Minecraft at all until that point anyway, so that's, in some ways, is kind of nice to know. Because I was actually thinking about playing Minecraft after I do Alien Isolation, but I've been doing some real life stuff that has been kind of prohibiting me from, well, I mean, I could have been recording stuff, but I haven't been. And the Path of Exile League start and that fiasco has kind of took the forefront of my mind of recently, but yeah, this gun, the MiG-15 Bis is a pretty good plane, but I just absolutely despise that the 37mm just overheats like instantly. And the 30mm guns on the Key 162 are pretty much the same way with their 30mm guns. Like, you pretty much are forced to use bolt carriers on them, and they feel like crap until you specialize them. But it still packs a good punch. And that's game. Oh, got a really good score on that one. And 2,800 points. Oh, I got under 100 for the MiG-15 Bis. That's kind of nice. Oh, I could actually get some supplies if I wanted to. I don't know if I will. I don't play World of Warplanes too often. So, with that, there was actually one last thing that I wanted to mention before finishing this video up here. Was that I have actually been watching YouTubers for World of Warplanes for a good bit amount of time. I've primarily watched a YouTuber named VBat, I think for probably a year, actually. He's been, well, he was a big contributor to some people actually coming back to World of Warplanes, I would want to say. And a side mention to Postal Monkey, as well as I've really liked their collaborations with VBat, Postal Monkey, as well as Aviation Industries, I think his name was, for his channel on various different tech trees. And it has been really nice seeing that even though this game isn't super popular, I mean, even though that I am playing at 6 in the morning on a work day or weekday, that I got into a game with all bots. So I mean, obviously this game isn't gonna have, it doesn't have a huge player base or anything, but it's just really nice to see people just really passionate about this game despite its lack of popularity. I like World of Warplanes much more than I ever really did War Thunder. I really didn't like War Thunder's realistic damage model, as well as, I don't know, just how the game felt for the planes part. I didn't really care for it all that much, and when I got back into World of Warplanes, it just really fit a groove with me that got me to grind out all of these planes. I mean, I pretty much have all of the tier 10s that I was interested in. Like the J7W3 I think was one of my first tier 10s. I think it might have been my second. The Swift I think was the first. And ironically, I didn't even really like the Swift all that much until I specialized it. But I pretty much have most of the tier 10s in the game. Pretty much the only ones that I'm interested in is the Thunderstreak. I wouldn't mind having the Su-10 because I don't really care for the EF-131 after a while, if you ask me. I kind of feel like the EF-131's reputation really boggles it down for me, muds it down. The Yak-30, I have the LA-15, so I don't really care about the Yak-30 all that much. And stuff like that. So, with that being said though, because of the times that I usually play this game, I typically don't really see any of the YouTubers that I have watched get into the same battle with them. And one of the instances that I got into a battle with Postal Monkey, I was put into one of his videos, and that was kind of fun to see. Even though that from his perspective, I pretty much was nowhere near him throughout the entire game. Especially since I was doing those missions for that pilot. I had to play the EF-131 quite a bit because one of them was like 2 million ground damage. And even with the EF-131, that was like 20 games minimum. Just a big grind. And getting the pilot herself, the last 2 missions were really frustrating. One of them was getting 9 fighter kills in a single match, and on the NA server, there's only 2 fighters ever on each side of the team in the higher tiers. And you had to fight in like tier 5 and above, or tier 4 and above to even get progress anyway. So the only way to have more than 2 fighters in one match is if they're all players, and there just so happen to be enough players on each team to get that amount, which good luck getting that many kills when they're players. So that was a massive pain in the butt. And then the second one was a special medal where you had to get 10 air kills as well as 7 ground target kills, and that one wasn't actually nearly as bad as the fighters one was, because each ground target that you did, like the smaller ones like the tents and the AA sites, they actually counted as one whole ground target kill. So each of these bombs could get 2 ground targets every time it reloaded, as well as the guns on this is powerful enough to destroy some of the lightly armored ones. So that has been pretty interesting, and I don't know if I'm going to go for any more pilots. Like I said at the beginning, I pretty much only got this pilot because her special skill gives an extra 2% maneuverability, which in the grand scheme of things is not really all that much, to be honest. And while the extra accuracy is kind of nice, I won't know how beneficial it is until I get Marksman 1 and 2 back. So there is that. So I don't know if you'd ever get this far, but if for some reason you ever watch my videos, Postal Monkey, I definitely appreciated that video and having that chat after that game. So with that being said, though, I am almost done with one of my real life things that I need to do, and then I have one more thing that I need to do involving culling different places, which is always a drag, but hopefully I'll get that done this week, if my procrastination doesn't get in the way. And then I can get back to some more Alien Isolation. I don't know if I'm really going to do any more Path of Exile videos based on this league, especially for how many talky ones that I made about this league. And it really baffles me for Path of Exile, where they do so many things that I would imagine would annoy so many players, and then on League Start they did even more things to annoy players, not to mention that the servers were complete and utter trash for probably a day to 2 days. So thankfully I avoided that. Even if I was interested in getting to maps right away, that would have been a nightmare to deal with because of how many disconnections people were having. But on the positive side, definitely like those, like it's always exciting having one of your favorite games get an update that makes you even more hyped about stuff that to come in the near future. And Genshin Impact, for one of those games, I kind of feel like, when I really think about it, Genshin Impact, since I'm not really as involved into the story as I was at one point, they had a recent story quest that pretty much explained any interest that I had in the story, so that kind of ate away at the interesting bits of the story that had a mystery to it. And then on top of that, the combat, which is pretty much the main reason why I've been playing the game, and to some extent the characters as well. Some of the characters are kind of neat, personality-wise, and their different abilities, but whenever I think about that game, like, even the combat doesn't really have as much depth as it looks on the surface. Like, it's pretty much, use this ability to apply an ailment on an enemy, and then use the corresponding element to get the most damage out of a follow-up attack as possible. And it's just, I don't know, I kind of feel like in some ways it's really repetitive, and the gacha nature of the game itself pretty much ruins the ability to build up multiple characters fast. And so you pretty much focus on your two main teams. For Spiral Abyss, like your main DPSs and then your supports to accompany that. And then once you're done with that, you have a little bit more freedom to invest in characters that you're interested in. But at the same time, though, it takes so much resources and pretty much just your limited resources that are time-gated to build up these characters, to even try them out, to see whether or not their playstyle is good for you. And investing in a character you might not like means that you might not be able to invest in a character that comes along in the future that you might like more. And it's just, I don't know, it's kind of fascinating to me that Arknights, one of the games that I probably enjoy the most at this point, in some regard, is a gacha game where I would be most willing to give money freely to the game, and yet the game is in some ways generous enough where I feel like if I were to ever make videos on it or something along those lines, like, I kind of want to show, like, this is how far you can go without spending any money on this game. And yet Genshin, I've paid a good amount of money, about the price of a newer game for Genshin, just because of in-game bonuses and stuff that technically I didn't really need, but, you know, because of the nature of that game and everything, the resources that they give you for spending money was quite substantial. And I like the game enough to justify that, but at the same time, though, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, well, what if I spent that money on Arknights, which I like a lot more, or just a different game entirely? But without further ado, though, this is going to be the end of this one. So definitely some exciting news on the games that I enjoy, as well as some interesting things here and there for, like, Path of Exile, as well as that World of Warplanes interaction. But yeah, just thinking about doing this, that I've been doing this for over a year, it just doesn't really feel like I've done that much in the whole year. It feels like I should have done a lot more than I have, and I mean, I really have no one to blame but myself on that one. I'm sure I could have if I spent the time, but for one reason or other, I haven't. But with that, thank you very much for watching, and hope you enjoyed my ramblings of this CannonChat once again, and have a wonderful day. And it's even funnier that these videos are usually around 30 to 40 minutes, and Mingles with Jingles, which is once every week, is usually nearly an hour, and I do these once a month. It's some irony. I'm rambly, but not rambly enough sometimes. But I hope you enjoyed.